Hello, and welcome to Mastering Detox with Elson Haas, MD. For those of you who don't know Dr. Haas, he's the founder and medical director of the Preventive Medical Center of Marin. He has over 50 years' experience and is one of the leading practitioners of integrative medicine in the United States. He's the author of 11 books, and he's been conducting online classes since 2018. We're so happy you were able to join us today for this workshop. And be sure to stay until the end of the presentation when Dr. Haas will answer the question, what is the hardest part of doing a detox? I'm sure you'll want to hear the answer to that. And welcome, Dr. Haas.
Thank you, Angela. Hello, everyone. So, my favorite subject, detox and mastery. So, if you're joining us because you were uh, not here live, but you were out doing important business in the world or just had other things to do, welcome. And there's a lot of information that I'll be sharing here. And really, an overview of my entire 50 years of working with the detox process. And I'll share my personal story a bit as well. Um, so welcome you all. So yeah, the hardest part of detox, we'll get there. First, we'll start with the easier part. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So this is a free class to kind of introduce you. Some of you are pretty experienced in doing detox programs already with me, uh, but this is kind of a general overview. Angela mentioned some of my books, including my Dr. Sun, Anatomics Comics, and all the other books, most of the other books. So generally, I did my first cleanse back in 1975, and I've been doing it every year, and I'll be looking forward to here. But first, I have to go to Mexico for a week. I get a holiday to see my new little granddaughter and have all three grandkids together, so that's going to be fun. And then after that, we're going to be working on a spring cleanse. I will be doing that myself because that's one of the things that keeps me feeling better is to every year kind of clean up and kind of get myself resynced again to healthier seasonal eating and all that. So, but the detox process, as many of you have been following and doing this with me, every year or multiple times a year. So here we are. But it's really a lifelong plan. So my basic goal is to help you in this healing process because that's what I found when I did my first cleanse. I dropped 20 pounds, my allergies cleared up, and I just realized how good I could feel. So I said, wow, I have one body. I'm going to treat it with love, and that means I'm going to start eating better and taking care of myself, exercising, getting better at sleeping. Um, but part of what I'm going to share with you today is just for you to get motivated and thinking about, what's a plan that you can do? Because that's really what works is, figuring out what can work for you. But there's lots of benefits of detox, which we'll get into that. And then I'm going to share a little bit more about the whole self detox, which we started a few years ago, that embraces every week we do a physical, then a mental and emotional and spiritual components, because it's really the detox process is part of your whole healing program. So these are some of the benefits of detox. It gets rid of water. You pee a lot. You get your weight down a bit. Usually, most people will have more energy and vitality, but you do need to get over the initial hump of, the detox process. So sometimes you might feel a little, crabby and headachy or irritable for, a couple of days, but usually by day three, you start to clear up. And, but it starts with getting off of junk, any habits that we have, plus sugar, wheat, processed foods. And when you start to lighten up a little bit, you see that you have less cravings. You start to feel good and empowered in your body. And it's really, to me, very delightful experience. And I still see that. But, initially when I first was doing cleanses, It took a while. It took a few days for me to start feeling better. Now, usually in the first day, I do that. I got in my blue glass. I got a little shot of Master Cleanser here to help me through the morning, and it's a good way to do it. And I'll show you how to incorporate that into whatever detox program you do. But inflammation is really a common problem. Aches and pains. Arthritis, headaches. And that's what the detox process helps reduce the acidity, the inflammation, a lot of the factors that contribute to the aches and pains that many people have as they age. Um, but the key is that you want to create, better habits, and we'll talk about that a bit later too. Uh, but most of us want to lighten up. It's losing weight. Everybody's turning the shots now for weight loss, and it's still, it's a help, but it's not the answer, and it's a tough process. So detox and cleansing does have a little bit, not as much as many of the research on drugs, but certainly, there's definitely a lot of positive results. And I would say that my story is watching thousands of people, like many of you, see the benefit, see how good you can feel, see how you report back to, groups that we've been doing that it says I feel this, I feel that, I feel much better. But most cultures and religions have some kind of cleansing period. In springtime, definitely. So almost most religions, most cultures have that. Yeah, plus animals do that too. They have kind of natural instinct to, I see my dog or cat eat, go and eat fresh greens to kind of cleanse their system a little bit, help their digestion. Um, so there's a lot of benefits to detox. So there was a German study that actually was a study to work on blood pressure, but they saw that people, when they did that 5-day cleanse, that they felt a lot better and in their digestion and their gut, and they also lost weight and they just had a lot of improvement. And I can tell you, I have thousands of people over the years that I've seen that with as well. There was a Harvard study a number of years ago in pursuit of healthy aging that they also had used intermittent fasting where the people ate fewer times a day and had a longer period of time where their bodies can detox out of the 24 hours a day. So you only eat over maybe 8 to 10 hours of the day, and you go 10 to 14 hours where without food. So we're just starting to look at that a little bit more. But there's a lot of experience. I mean, people who've done cleanses and detox programs, see for themselves what it does to them. So it's not always something, when I used to, it was, years ago, I would say people, once you do a class and you learn how to do your cleanse or detox, you know how to come back to that. And when you start to feel off, that's often a good way to shift. But a lot of people, we'll talk about the hardest part, and then we'll see what that's about. So I did my first cleanse in 75, and I've been doing it every year. So it's 51 or 2 years when I come up this year. I said my allergies cleared up, and really, when I had 3 or 4 months of allergies and plus daily congestion, I woke up on the third day and wow, I could breathe clearly. I felt better. I started to feel more vital, and I'm a young man here, but I overate for most of my lifetime, um, up till then, and I had free food as a med student and an intern, and I just I just ate too much. I was the family's, garbage can in a sense. Like we don't want to waste food, so Elson will eat it. So anyway, I still have to kind of work on that behavior. Uh, so the seasonal detox is there. Some of you have my detox diet book. We are going as part of this class. You're going to have access to multiple pages, 27-page program out of the book, which to show why you detox, how to do it, and what the detox diet is. And we're going to go through that a little bit now as well. All right. Let me take a breath here for a moment and say hi to everybody again and see anybody have any comments or questions to start with. You could put them in the chat or just raise your hand and Angela can call on you, or anybody have any positive experiences? See, I see a lot of familiar faces. Some of you regulars. We don't. I won't call on you now, but look at us. Just looking who's here. Cool. All right. Um,
You don't seem to have any questions at
all
this
right. Not
time.
questions yet. I know that. All right. Well, there'll be questions after. All
Okay.
right. Let me go. Come back here then. All right. There we go. Full screen again. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So basically, who can benefit? First of all, who should not do uh, a detox? If you're really kind of, fatigued and underweight, you're anemic, you're low hormones or thyroid, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, or you have some advanced disease, if you have cancer, things like that, you need to be cautious because, there's two aspects. One is detox, the other side is nourishment, and we'll get into that balance. But, those situations where you maybe need to put weight on and build up your body, you need a lot more nutrients. Doesn't mean you can't do some kind of detox. You can still get benefit from getting off of caffeine, alcohol, sugar, wheat, dairy, or whatever foods you have reaction to. But definitely you want to have good nourishment. But if you have regular congestion or allergies, or you have aches and pains or joint pains, digestive upset, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, kind of the common problems that people get in this culture, from the lifestyle and food that we eat, these, detox can really help with that. It really can make a big shift. So here's a questionnaire. You have this in your handout, but you could look at this over and just see what kind of score you have. Uh, are you doing, 2 cups of coffee a day and, a dozen glasses of wine a week? Do you have a lot of chemical exposure? Do you have any aches and pains? See the third column down here. Um, or what other issues do you have? So you can see whether, this is a review of whether detox might be a benefit for you. So those of you who've done classes with me before, you realize that my idea that the basic cause of disease is cellular dysfunction, and the two factors that contribute to that are not getting all the nutrients we need, the vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, and all the phytonutrients that come from plant-based foods primarily. Or we have toxicity, we have chemicals and metal exposure that come into our air, food, and water, or we get in our additives and meals, and also cosmetics and hair dyes, etc. All these different things we're exposed to. Those can throw off the cells and cause more inflammation and acidity and toxicity. So to me, if we just took everybody in the country and said we're gonna make sure you're getting all the nutrients in that you need, which is from good food and some supplements too, and you're gonna avoid the things that are chemical or toxicity based, many of the issues that people have would get better. So there's a number of approaches that we can take. One is, general intermittent fasting, where you only eat from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. or noon to 8 p.m., whatever, or maybe even only 6 hours. But you'd have a little break, or you start eating. If you're a breakfast person, you can stop eating at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's one way people, usually that's a transition into doing this. And also you can do a few days of just where you reset and do, some juices or a vegetable soup, or you can do a longer one. It takes, 21 days to really change habits. And if you're really working on, getting away from caffeine, alcohol, sugar, wheat, and dairy, for example, uh, you can see how that will embrace, your process. Um, so I have several programs I'll go through now. One is the detox diet, which is mainly veggies and liquids, and it's several meals a day. You can chew up your food, or there's a liquid smoothies and juices, or there's a master cleanse, and we're getting ready for our spring master cleanse coming up. So here's one of my acronyms, SNACKS. That stands for sugar, nicotine, alcohol, caffeine, and chemicals. So those all can undermine us. And most people, I would say, from all my lecturing over the years, 90% of people or more have at least a habit to one of these substances, and probably 50% have two. So they're either drinking a couple cups of coffee during the day or more, they're having alcohol at night, or they're smoking pot or whatever it might be. But there's a way that we kind of stimulate ourselves and then we sedate ourselves. So, that's part of what we can take a break from is the stimulation sedation syndrome, which I'll share in a minute. But also, just when you get rid of wheat and dairy products and sugars, you get rid of most processed foods, and that's really part of the program. Any kind of detox program will have you do that. But you see, some of these issues there. And the Detox Diet book has a chapter on each of these snacks. So there's a whole discussion of sweet foods and sweet words and nicotine and inflammation and how do we detoxify from each of these things. So that's a good beginning. So here's the detox diet, and some of you have done this before, but it's a 2 or 3 week program that you start the day with water. Breakfast is some fruit and maybe a whole grain or a baked squash, some kind of a little bit of starch. And then lunch and dinner are at specific times. So you're still getting a good 12 to 14 hours overnight of not eating. And it's mainly mixed steamed vegetables. And then you save some of the veggie water to drink that as an alkaline broth. Um, and it's a warm diet. So even if it's a cooler time of the year, you could do the detox diet. As it gets warmer, then your body's a little bit more open to doing cleansing, doing fresh veggie juices or master cleanse, etc. So this is part of the detox diet is just an alkaline program to help you calm the system down, reduce inflammation, reduce acidity, and just help with so many different areas. So here's a little review on a smoothie cleanse. So it's a lot of good nutrients, some kind of protein powder, good fruit, and then you can either use water as a base or a little juice or milk. Like if you're trying to get more calories in, you could use almond milk or any kind of milk really that works for you. And so this is just a program you can do. It's in the Detox Diet book as well. Different times a day you can do juice or smoothies. So it's mainly still more of a liquid-based diet, but some of it's very nourishing and more calories and nutrients. So here's just a general juice plan where you're getting fresh veggie juices or you're getting using Master Cleanser. The nice thing about Master Cleanser, it's very easy to make. In 3 minutes this morning, I have a bunch of lemons here now. I squeezed, 4 lemons, I added a little maple syrup to it, a little bit of cayenne pepper, and in 3 minutes I have enough Master Cleanse to get me through a good part of the day. But this is just a combination of veggie juices. It helps really purify the body, gives you a fair amount of nutrients in there, but it's not much protein. So, it's a short-term program that you're doing this for 3 days or 7 days or 10 days. That's when we do our juice cleansing, it's usually about a 10-day program. So here's Master Cleanse. Spicy lemonade, yeah, it's nourishing. It gets you to pee a lot, so you get rid of a lot of excess water, which helps you start your weight reduction plan. Make sure you're carrying it in glass and not in plastic, and drink a glass or two at a time. Rinse your mouth. Uh, it's best not to just sit there and sip it, or if you drink some, just chase it with at least a mouthful of water and rinse it so that the lemon and the maple is kind of comes off your teeth, so you don't kind of get more cavities there. You really want the ascorbic acid and citric acid in the lemon can start to eat at your enamel a little bit. So you really need to make sure you're getting, cleansing your mouth with water so it's not lingering on your teeth. So the basic formula is here. So you have this, you could do any multiple detox programs just from this PowerPoint slideshow. and just what to do. But basically, two tablespoons of maple syrup. I'm sorry, of lemon juice, 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. I think for most people, a tenth of a teaspoon of cayenne, some water, 8 ounces of water, and then you drink a glass or two at a time, ideally, and do that several times a day. And you can. I just make the concentrate up. So basically, I squeeze some lemons, put it in a jar, glass jar, and then add about half the amount of maple syrup, and then pinch of, about a tenth of a teaspoon per glass. So I just add usually like a quarter teaspoon or so cayenne. So I like mine a little spicy. Everybody has to adapt their, and you can add that cayenne later if you want. Uh, so I just have the concentrate. I didn't bring that in here to show you, but and you do want a little oil in your diet too. So whether that's when you're on a cleanse. So I usually do people do flaxseed oil or olive oil, um, or some other kind of good oil. Try and stay away from seed oils. Okay. So here's another plan that I've done a couple times with groups is it's a combination plan. So, and I have a program I did in Women's World that kind of made the veggie soup. Um, but I drink Master Cleanser through the morning, then a fresh juice or a little smoothie in the afternoon or midday, and then a vegetable soup at dinner. In a warmer climate, you can also do a vegetable salad. Mainly with greens and a little shredded carrot and beet and whatever other veggies you like in there. So that's you're still being nourished, and it's a good way. You have a variety of things that you can do. So to me, that's kind of a good plan here. Now, a couple years ago, as I was kind of reviewing with my team, there's so many benefits that happen from a detox process, that they happen on the physical, not just the physical, but the emotional, mental, and spiritual levels. People make changes. People tune into new directions. They heal communications with others that they've had issues with. There's so many things that happen during a cleansing and detox program. So we started to do whole self detox as my spring kind of purification program. Um, and the whole self approaches that we took every week. The first week we focused on the nutritional components and the physical outcomes. And then the next week we looked at mental communications and what's going on in our heads. And then we did work on the emotional side. And I had slides and guidance and exercises for people to do each of those weeks. And then the last week we do the spiritual component, like who am I really? What's my purpose here on earth? How can I best serve the world and the planet? So as we move into that phase, to me those are all important. So there's a whole integration that happens with your being. A lot of us are in our second half of our life at least, and so it really helps to kind of tune into that. So this has become more popular, this whole process, and that program is been recorded and available. So the key is to make a plan. Whenever I just giving you a bunch of different ideas, and I'll take a few questions after this next short interlude here. Uh, but the plan is important, and it's and the commitment to do that and the follow through. Um, so the detox diet is easy, but it takes some preparation, and it takes getting in fresh veggies and cutting them up and steaming them and saving the veggie water and adding some nutrients and powders to that. And then you have a detox soup. So there's a lot of different options to do. So what would work for you is the question. So if you do the detox diet, here's a kind of a short review of supplements that I have people often do. During juice cleansing, I don't have people do a lot of supplements. I don't have them take a lot of pills or capsules, but you can do some powders and some nutrient rich foods. Like, I do like a green drink where I have green powders or red powders that have high antioxidant value. Uh, but you do want, when you're detoxing, you want antioxidants. So you want something that's got some vitamin C and zinc and A and selenium and lipoic acid and a lot of different things that are included in antioxidant formulas. But vitamin C is good for everything, and you can do some of that. You can do some calcium, magnesium at bed. Uh, you can do that just if you're someone who gets cramps or tight muscles. So there's a lot of different things, and then you can also do certain herbs if you're working on specific areas of your life and your health.
All right, we did have a
All
couple
right.
of questions.
Okay.
So let's see. Someone asked, what do you think about the big movement to eat more protein? Is it necessary?
Um, I think I just have some extra cut. Now I'm drinking a little sip of water. I think as we age, particularly, we need good quality protein and we need good oils. Those are, I got a message this last year that's the most important aspects of a dietary guidance to healthy aging. You want lots of veggies because those have a lot of nutrients in them. Um, and I see trouble. I mean, people focused on protein, they do keto diets, they do, high protein diets. Um, there are certain concerns with that, but I think mostly most people can benefit, especially if you're trying to stay on the trimmer side of yourself. You want protein and veggies as, you know, I suggest people do 50% veggies in their diet and, at least 2 or 3 portions of protein a day, a little bit of fruit, a little bit of nuts and seed, good oils, avocado and, almonds and things like that. So I think, just finding that balance. I had somebody in my office the other day who says he's working on 180 grams of protein a day, then that might be high, but it throws off your blood a little bit in certain areas. But I think, it's a good question, and, I think it's important that you get adequate protein, especially if you're doing, if you're trying to lose weight or doing shots, then you need to get good protein too.
All right, and someone asked, what originally inspired you to do a cleansing fast? In the early days, it was so much less known.
Well, if you were depending on what books you were reading, it was more known. Just the whole idea when you're looking at the naturopaths and people writing books, and even Henry Beeler, was a medical doctor in Hollywood, back in the 20s and 30s and 40s. He had a soup that he had people drinking, making that with I think zucchini and green beans and one other veggie. Um, I went to a talk. I went to a friend of mine from Michigan said, "I'm going to hear this guy talk." His name's Stanley Burroughs, and he wrote a little book called The Master Cleanser. This was in San Francisco. So I went to that, and he was kind of a rebel and didn't like the medical profession very much. He said, so the Master Cleanse came out. So he created this formula called Master Cleanser. He used more maple. I've adapted a little bit, and I actually worked with him for a few months after I did the cleanse. I went and I was kind of his short-term protege as a medical doctor, which he had to kind of bite a bullet to kind of take me in. But he also was doing a lot of reflexology and polarity therapy. Um, so anyway, so he talked about the 10-day master cleanse. So I read the little booklet and then I've written about it and I started using it and I did it in my practice a bit. I was in the country and I did a free workshop uh and I had like 30 people in it. We all did master cleanse together. And those 30 people affected another 200 people in the town that I was in. And so I just saw the benefit. And so I was doing that as part of medical therapy. And I still do. I had a couple the other day I've seen for 20 years at least, and they're both trying to lose weight. And I said, you two just need to do let's do 7 days of master cleanse together. Here's the handout for it. Do this, and I'll bet it'll make some big changes for you. So anyway, now and many of you have been part of doing that as well.
Great. You have another question. How does a detox cleanse work with Wegovy and other weight loss meds?
I haven't, a good question. I haven't had people do that so much, but I think I wouldn't do, I wouldn't do a juice fast with it because I don't nobody's really looked at that. I mean, there are definitely some side effects. Talking to a lot of my patients about it. I have a lot of requests for it. Trying to support it and just kind of watching and observing. But the bowels get kind of sluggish. People get constipated. There are some, different side effects. So, um, I would just be cautious with that. I think you still want to do, with the GLP-1s and weight loss drugs, you want to have um, good quality protein in. You want to have enough, plenty of water, so because you don't want to get all backed up. And one of the important aspects of detox programs is keeping your bowels moving. So it's possible to do it, and we'll see more as people do it. Um, I can talk to a couple, maybe somebody in our group here might have some experience for that. And they can share if they've done cleansing, doing any shots.
All right. Somebody asked, what is the premise of the master cleanse and each of the components? Is the cayenne pepper really necessary?
Uh, Good question. I tell people the lemon is astringent and it helps cleanse the body and those sorts of liver. The maple gives you not over calories, but gives you the sugars that all your cells need to function well. And the cayenne is a good diuretic and it keeps your body a little warmer, but it also helps, it helps part of it. So to me, I think there's some magic to the formula. When Burroughs wrote this, he said he was so against the medical profession. He had this patient who saw him who had kind of intractable peptic ulcer disease. And I said, well, what have all the doctors told you not to do? Well, don't have any citrus, you're low on sugar, and no spicy food. They said, okay, so we're going to put citrus and spices and maple syrup in this formula, and the guy got better. So that was his kind of research, so to speak. So, and I've had people do it. I mean, it can upset the stomach a little bit, but most time it's very soothing to the intestinal tract. Cayenne has healing components. I mean, used to use a formula for eye clearing that had a little sprinkle of cayenne in it with eye bright herb and a couple other herbs. And you feel it burn a little bit, but it actually helps. It was helping people's eyes. So, and I like that in my eyes.
All right. Someone asked, how often are your detox cleanse programs? Spring, fall? When do you do them?
Yes. I usually do a January one, cool climate one. That's a popular time of year, spring one. Then we do a September one. But I'm going to share some ideas for you to be able to do this whenever you want. So,
All right. That's it for
okay.
now.
All right. Let's come back to our, okay. Okay. All right, so if and when you do a detox program, you want to make some changes. The idea to do this is to look at what you're doing and see what you can let go of. What would you come out the other side doing? Can you create a healthier diet? Can you get better hydration? Will you start exercising? I mean, the whole idea is to embrace your life and lifestyle, uh, and choose the right foods for you and the right activities, and that's the whole point. So if to me, the detox and cleansing helps you go from point A, which is wherever you're at, and the illness you have or, aches and pains, to point B, which is what your goals are. So I encourage people to really work on their goals and their lifestyle to get a better outcome for years to come. And that's it. I mean, any program you do, whether it's shots or fast or a special diet, if you go back to your previous way of living and eating, you're going to end up with the same body and even maybe another pound or two. So it's a challenge. So another aspect of this process is that many people have food reactions or food allergies. And when you eliminate certain things, you start to feel better, and then it gives you the opportunity to come back to try those foods again and see what happens. So that's part of the No More False Fat program that I've done, and my book, The False Fat Diet, which is all about food reactions. My office is a allergy testing center, and so we test people specifically for what their issues are. But in the false fat diet, I have this sensitive seven, which is wheat, dairy, sugar, corn, eggs, soy, and peanuts. So, but not everybody's sensitive to all those, but dairy and eggs and soy, are common ones, and wheat definitely. Um, so to me, this is a process. That's another type of, if allergies and food reactions are your key, then it's another component for you to express there what you need to do and what works and what doesn't work for you. And you test the foods by bringing them back in and to see how your body responds. So, but you feel better when you go away from those foods typically. If you get to do an elimination diet and you don't feel improvement after a week or two, you may not have a lot of food reactions. Um, so here's what we were talking about before. It's not just the physical outcome where you might drop a little weight or your aches and pains or you'll have less fatigue or better sleep, less anxiety. There's also the emotional and psychological benefits that happen. Uh, and sometimes of a new path where you start to see more clearly. There's some stories, and I'm not sure if it's true, that the master cleanse was also used in Hawaii earlier, and that's where maybe Stanley Burroughs got his ideas from. It was used to go into battle. It was like helping you see more clearly, seeing your picture of your life or your path. So to me, the cleansing process helps you awaken to your spiritual destiny, in a sense. Um, but it's definitely lifestyle oriented. It helps you kind of come back to that lifestyle. My approach in medicine is lifestyle first, natural therapies next, drugs last. My goal as a family doctor is to keep people out of the hospital, out of the emergency rooms, out of surgery, and to use the least amount of medicines needed to get the results. So if you have high blood pressure or high cholesterol or high, blood sugar, you want to kind of bring those back to normal. And you can do that lifestyle. You can do that best with lifestyle, but sometimes you need a little medicine. So as given in talks I've done, on national radio shows and things like that, I said, I still dole out a lot of drugs. And some of you are patients of mine and you're getting drugs as well as you're taking care of yourself. But I like to prescribe lifestyle and detox. So that's kind of my main thing. If you can get results by that process, then we're good. So this comes back. There's a program on my website and Thinkific, a free program just to go through each of these areas. You have a weak area here. The 5 keys to staying healthy: good nutrition, regular exercise, managing stress, quality sleep, healthy attitude. If you get your attitude, that's what things when I did my first cleanse, the thing that changed it for me was my personal attitude. I have one body. I have to treat it with love. So that's what I've been doing, and I try and take care of myself as best I can. Keep love in my heart. Say yes when I can, but be able to say no. That's my motto in my 70s. Um, so coming back to the old days, I mean, fasting and cleansing has been around for centuries. As I said, from native cultures and but right now we're kind of finishing up, Lent and Ramadan and Navaratri, which I didn't know too much about. But these are aspects there, and just the whole idea, the nature cultures, pagan cultures, native cultures have all been using that spring as a time of purification, getting the greens in, eating more clean and green. As my associate Robert and my qigong teacher, clean and green. He does his website. He makes smoothies every day, lots of greens. So he stays pretty healthy that way. And then there's also the seasonal approach. Someone asked how often you do your detoxes. It's basically a key part of my health maintenance. Um, and on both my website and PMC's, there's messages, there's article called the purification process, which kind of binds this all together. But we can do And you can do good programs in my detox diet. I have a whole year long suggestion for different things you can do at different times of the year. So you got, cool climate where you can make soups and warm food. You have, juice cleansing. So, Staying Healthy with the Seasons is still my go-to book that came out in 1981 and is so prevalent with people today. All right, so here's what's going on in part today. I'm looking at a new way to educate and support people in this important process. So on the Thinkific Learning platform, and Angela's going to show you that in a few minutes. I have all these five different programs that people can take on their own, with me presenting just like today, the whole self detox, regain your natural energy, cool climate, no more false fat. So I want to make those available to you to use because they're really user friendly and they support you and your health. And there's so many different supportive materials that we have. So these are all the detox programs. They're guided, they're self-paced. You can do them anytime. You can go back and rewatch something. You can go to the materials that you have to support you. Um, because we're all only going to be around for a certain amount of time, so we got to keep this in posterity. Uh, but this program is ready now, and it's a good way, for us to get ready for spring and summer, and get ready for the holidays. So, you know, all right, we're still talking about what's the hardest part about detox. I'll get to that. All right, so I'm offering this new way to access all my detox materials. We've been building this up for the last 6 or 7 years, and I want to do a simple monthly membership for you to have access to all these different programs. Typically, it's, that you saw the prices back here. So that's how they are now. Um, wait a second. Right. So this is the program. So each one of these programs individually is, can be a few weeks, it can be a few days. Um, Most of them are 1 to 3 or 4 weeks. So these are things that you can incorporate and have access to. So I'm also just looking at my teaching orientation and what I'm doing and how I can support everybody. So I'm going to do a free seasonal class. Anybody who's a member, I'm doing a free seasonal class. And then the first one will be May 2nd. So we'll talk about spring, summer, and just that. But this is just for members. And then if there's other programs that we set up to do, there'll be 30% discount on that, and you'll be able to email me, and you have the 5 keys to staying healthy. So my Angela and Neil and my team is excited about this. So it's $19 a month, or if you want to pay for the whole year, it's $169, which is $59 off. And then I'm also going to be doing a live class just to kick off to spring cleansing on April 25th. It's a Saturday morning again, and that will if you're a member, you get that for free, but otherwise there'll be a charge if people want to do that separately. So basically, in summary, so it's this, a good value, more than $600, $19 a month, and I want to support you, and I need your support to kind of do this too. So for 169, you can do the whole year. You can have access to all these five programs. Oh, we didn't answer the question. The hardest part about doing a detox. Well, let's review that one after. I think I'm going to have Angela. I'm going to stop sharing. I want her to kind of do a short little review of the Thinkific platform and see, how to access what we have.
Thank you, Dr. Haas. You've had a lot of comments, people thanking you for all of this valuable information. So many of you I recognize, so I know that you do already have Thinkific accounts, but if you are new to Dr. Haas, you simply go to, um, here we go, let's share my screen first. You go to elsonhaasmd.thinkific.com, and this is his main page. And when you scroll down, you can see all the different courses that are available. And this one that Dr. Haas just described, the membership program, is called the Purification Process. So we're going to click on that, and you can scroll down and see the different courses that Dr. Haas just mentioned. These are all the ones that are included. The Regain Your Natural Energy, No More False Fat, a Cool Climate Detox for later in the year, the Whole Self Detox, which he did describe during his presentation. You could do it anytime, the Spring and Summer Cleanse, and then there are a number of bonuses. So you have a choice to either do $19 a month, or as he said, you get a discount if you pay for the whole year in advance. And let's take a look at one of the classes. For those of you who aren't familiar, most of the classes are similar. So I've already registered here. Just remember, when you go, be sure to sign in if you already have a Thinkific account so that you can see this. So I'm going to resume the courses that we just looked at, and let's just take a look at Cool Climate Detox. Most of the classes have the same look on the inside. You'll see you get the turquoise bar, then you know you're inside the class. There's three little bars, what do they call that? A hamburger menu, I think, in the upper left corner. When you click that, you'll get the left menu, and you have these little arrows to put the sections up and down. So each of these classes has the different lessons, and each lesson has support materials. Each lesson has recorded videos, a lot of additional resources. You can click on any of these and you'll see what's on the inside. So here's actually something called the Purification Process. And you get, that was from a magazine article Dr. Haas did. And then you just click the back button and look at, here we have to go back to this menu. Let's look at lesson one. You have a video, an audio, and then the slides from each of the classes. So that's a little preview of what he is offering. It's just an amazing, as he said, it's, it's over $600 value for $19 a month. So back to you, Dr. Haas.
Well, thank you, thank you. All right, so the hardest part of detox is making up your mind and heart to do something and to get started on it. And then to create the time and space to and decide what program. So the hardest part is just to decide to do it. And those of you who've done it before, it takes, but once I get into it, in the first few days, I said, oh yeah, this feels so good. I feel the lightness happening in my body. And I said, oh, so, those of you who've done cleanses or any kind of detox program, it takes a while to get organized to start your day. So that's, to me, what the story is. So again, create the time and space that you need, make a decision to do it, and then just get started. And get started may mean it's getting your kitchen organized, getting rid of the junk you have in there, going shopping, and deciding what you're doing, and then start to review the overview. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. You did have
So
another question.
yeah, let's have a few more questions.
Okay, someone said, I struggle with giving up coffee. Sadly, it's a terrible addiction. I get a craving every morning. How can I overcome this?
Uh, um, well, I found that replacing your coffee with a nutrient-rich drink is helpful for many patients. You're used to that stimulation. Some people like it because it gets their bowels working, so they go poop in the morning after they drink coffee. They like the energy. They like the hot, Some people just like the hot, kind of bittersweet drink. Um, but I have people do, water with a little juice, a power pack, which is like emergency, those little packets of nutrients, and then I add trace minerals, And vitamin D, I have a cardio formula that I use a little powder in there. So that's kind of it's kind of a juice. It's not that sugary, but it's got a lot of nutrients in it. And you replace your caffeine stimulation with nutrient support. And to me, I think that's the best way to do it. And you can transition off your caffeine a little bit. But, it's like anything, whether it's a craving for chocolate chip cookie or wine or whatever it is, you got to work on the emotional side of it. Even in trying to drop weight, if you don't work on the emotional component and the habits that you have, it's not easy.
All right, thank you. You have another question. This is an interesting one. They wrote a bit personal here. You seem to be a very yang person. Any suggestions for those who are more on the yin side?
I'm yin on the inside. Um, well, Angela coaches me. She says, get your energy up, get your energy up for your classes. So otherwise, I'm pretty kicked back and easy going. But I have lots of energy. I mean, that's one of the things I feel blessed with in my life is I have good energy every day, and I don't use stimulants and sedatives. So to me, it's just like, what can I do next? And I'm also I have a kind of high functioning ADD kind of brain. So I can be watching a movie while I'm working on editing an article or whatever. And I'd like to do a lot of stuff at once. And that helps me with patients too. It helps me with, being able to sit across from a patient and be looking at, what medicines they're on and what their lab says and rewriting notes and writing out a new lab slip or, so I'm doing multiple things at once. So that allows me to get more done in a visit. So, uh, yeah, so if you're well, maybe if you're too young, maybe you need a little coffee. I don't know. In the detox diet, there's benefits to each of the snack habits. Caffeine, alcohol, sugar, etc. But it's when you overdo it and you depend on it for your energy. So um, what will awaken? I think when you get passionate about what you want to do and how you want to take care of yourself, I think that yin or that calmer side. And the question have you been evaluated? You have energy. Do you have enough energy? Sometimes the yin is just not having enough energy. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it.
The person who asked that question said they are laughing with you when you
Okay.
laughed about it. And somebody responded about the coffee addiction. Dandelion tea with some almond milk works well for a warm morning
Okay.
drink.
Yeah, there's a lot of combinations. There used to be, there's these kind of alternative coffees. A lot of people do mushroom coffee now, and people are doing, what's the other one with coconut oil and stuff in it? What do people call that? Anyway, so there's a lot of different warm brews. I used to do Perot or, this kind of barley, coffees and things like that. Those are pretty tasty. So a lot of different options.
M-
I don't know if this product
MCT.
called. What's
Somebody
that?
wrote MCT. That's what it's called. With the coconut oil, MCT.
No,
No.
MCT is medium chain triglycerides, which is part of the oils. That's good oils. But it has a different name too for that kind of coffee. Anyway, okay. Um, does anybody want to make a comment of GLP-1 shots and doing cleansing? I'm looking at a couple of you I know, but I don't know.
Oh, bulletproof coffee. Someone
Bulletproof.
wrote.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you.
Somebody knew that. Okay. Um, well, I'm happy to hang out a few more minutes and let's see any other stories. So, um, yeah, some of you I've seen pretty regularly who've done classes with me for years, um, and we have a lot more people who are signed up to do this class, and hopefully they'll watch it when they're freer and not out in the world doing their thing. So I appreciate you all.
All right. Someone wrote, I have done GLP-1 and cleansing, and it's really easier to do.
Uh-huh. Just craving wise and everything. Okay. All right. Well, I'll have to see if I have somebody doing that.
Okay. Someone asked how long your offer is open for the membership.
I think it's going to be something I'm going to be talking to patients about and everything. We don't have an endpoint on it, so I think that definitely next few months, but sooner the better.
Yeah. Very good. Well, it looks like that's
All
all the
right.
questions.
Okay. All right, everyone. Let me do a little view here. Gallery view. Yeah, most of you aren't really showing your faces here, but I see some friendly faces there. So, all right, gang. So, well, thank you and take care of yourself. And hopefully, the world. I have a lot. I'm writing about war and peace medicine, and I try and practice a level of peace medicine, which means, don't fight and kill things, but try and harmonize with the body and the life. So, um, but I've been a con. When I was in medical school, I was deferred till I completed for going into the military, but I was also applied for my conscientious objector. So back at 24 years old, I was already objecting to war of all kinds, and I had to go to through in the Detroit board, and they denied me, and then I appealed it out in California to San Francisco, and I got accepted as a CO. So that's been my status. So I just think it takes a little more wisdom and more Dalai Lama like behavior to avoid wars and find paths for people. But I think most people don't like what's going on in the world. So hopefully we can find some resolution there. So, all righty.
All right. Someone asked, does membership include all of your courses?
There's going to be probably the next level, which is a more expanded membership, that there's a few more courses that will include there. Weight management, and plus all these programs that I have. I'm working on healthy aging, and that one's up. These are available also, and well as finishing up a hormonal health one, which is a really good one I've done with Judy Lane, and then another one I'm working on next. It's called Mood and Energy Disorders, and the kind of connection between anxiety, insomnia, depression, and fatigue. All those how those are all connected in some way to our whole energy and mood system. So anyway,
Right.
I'm still at it.
And a number of people are saying thank you. They enjoyed the webinar.
Okay, blessings everyone. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.